My name is Lauren Nash. There's a difference between punishment and rehabilitation. Punishment is inflicting the consequence as a result of someone's wrongdoing, and rehabilitation is the act of restoring something back to its original state. So why are drug addicts being thrown in jail instead of being sent to rehab? Do we want them restored back to their original state, or do we want them punished for a disease that they are living with? Today, I will explain to you the effects that jail has on drug abusers, the cost of incarceration of a drug abuser, as opposed to sending them to rehab. Furthermore, the opinions of those who oppose rehab over jail. There is minimal to no rehabilitation offered in jail. In the state of California, only 29% of prisons provide drug education to abusers. California being one of the largest states with one of the largest prison populations. Also, to house someone in jail costs taxpayers a significant more amount of money than it would be to send them to rehab. Lastly, once you have incarcerated a drug abuser, they now have a record and become unemployable. Now that I have told you some of the problems brought about due to the incarceration of drug addicts, let me provide you with one solution, and that is drug addicts should go to rehab and not jail. To you, it may sound crazy, but I'm not the only one who feels this way. In 2012, Governor Christie of New Jersey signed a bill giving non-violent drug offenders rehab instead of jail time. Bottom line is, jail does not rehabilitate, but instead inflicts a punishment. Drug addicts are not offered the appropriate services for their addiction when in jail. They are lucky if they get to sit with a substance abuse counselor 2 days out the week to learn more about living a sober life on the outside. What about the drug addicts who come in and have a history of abusing heroin for many years? Are they just given meds to get through sleepless nights, cold sweat, vomiting, and the mere fact of feeling like death is near? Where is the much needed support and the tools on how to live without the substance that they're addicted to once on the outside? Or if the objective is to just keep them sober while incarcerated. Rehab, however, gives abusers and teaches them how to stay clean. There are support systems while in rehab as you are amongst your peers. There are others who are in rehab who are going through the same thing as you and can be more compassionate towards you as opposed to being in the jail cell with another offender who knows nothing about what you're going through. Also, once you leave jail, you're just thrown back into the community. There's no support system behind you. However, when you leave rehab, there's follow-up care. You receive services. There's a whole professional team who is backing you and supporting you and teaching you how to live a sober life. Though both jail and rehab come with a cost, drug rehab instead of prison would save billions. It costs $54,000 to house a prisoner in the state of New Jersey for 1 year. And that is per inmate, just so that I'm clear. On average, there are 26,000 inmates in a New Jersey state prison, in the New Jersey state prison system at one time. So you do the math. Once the costs are totaled, the prison system in the state of New Jersey costs taxpayers $1.4 billion a year. Just think what other programs could be brought about if we weren't sending drug addicts to jail and we were sending them to rehab. According to the New Jersey Department of Corrections, 59% of inmates are those of violent criminals, and only 16% are those who are drug abusers. So out of that 16%, I'm sure that there are some that are non-violent drug abusers who could actually be sent to jail, be sent to rehab instead of jail. For 30 days in a low-cost rehab, it costs a minimum of $2,000. So when you do the math, that means that a drug addict could spend a year in rehab for $30,000 or less than it will cost for them to be put in prison. For me and you, it's already hard getting a job with education and experience alone. But imagine if we had a record holding us up as well. You can't expect anyone who has been incarcerated to just enter back into society as a productive member and start a regular life with a record over their head as well as a drug addiction problem. This just gives them very little to look forward to when they are back on the outside. In turn, they will begin using again, and it'll be a revolving door, and they'll be right back in jail. I have told you why I feel that drug addicts should be placed in rehab instead of jail. Now, let me tell you what those who oppose are saying. We all know the saying, you do the crime, you do the time. And that's how most people feel when it comes to drug addicts and a possession charge. That they are unproductive citizens and should just be thrown in jail. However, to me, drug possession and drug possession with intent to distribute is two different offenses. So I feel like your crime should constitute, the charge. So if you're in possession of drugs for a personal use, you shouldn't be punished as a person who's in possession of drugs with the intent to distribute. Also, studies have shown that a first-time offender is sent to jail for possession and housed in a population full of career criminals. They are set up to fail. Because as they live amongst these career criminals for 3 and 4 years, they begin to take on the mindset of a career criminal. So not only are they now a drug addict, they also have the mindset of the career criminal. So the way that they came inside the prison system is not the same way that they leave out. So when they return back to their community from where they came from, they now have that mindset of a career criminal instead of just a drug addict. With that being said, they go back into the community. They now pick up robbing, stealing, and doing other crimes just to get those drugs, as opposed to how they were getting the money to get the drugs before. Once again, they're set up to fail. Then it's the fact of, if they can afford drugs, they can afford rehab, some may say. But if you know anyone with an addiction, once they look for help, they have reached rock bottom. There's no money, they have exhausted all resources, bank accounts are empty, they have robbed and stole from everyone they know and borrowed. So there's no money left. However, why should the fact of someone having money determine whether or not they get treatment? That's just like saying if a sickly person goes to the hospital, we're going to refuse them because they have no health insurance. Drug addiction is a disease, and it should be treated as any other disease is treated, not just to be thrown in jail because they can't afford it. Then there's the big one to why people believe that drug addicts should go to jail instead of rehab, because not everyone believes that rehab works. And you may think that I'm harsh when I'm saying this, but neither is the first treatment of chemo for cancer patients effective. So why do we think that when drug addicts first go into, rehab, it should be effective right away? So there's at least rehab teaches them how to live without the substance. Jail does not. Studies have shown that 30% of people who underwent drug rehab received a new jail sentence within a 12-month period, compared to 51% of those who didn't undergo drug rehab. Not a big range, but it still shows progress. In conclusion, drug addicts face many problems when going to jail instead of rehab. And if we attempted to send a majority of drug addicts to rehab instead of jail, there's a great possibility that they will not only remain clean, but will be able to enter back into the community as productive citizens. Although there are many reasons why people think that drug addicts should go to jail instead of rehab, we need to remember that drug addiction is a disease. The problem with drug abuse seems punishable, but the dangers are way greater. Just to throw someone in jail and say, hey, deal with it there, is wrong. That's why I believe that drug addicts should be sent to rehab instead of jail.
Yay!